There are times that I enjoy talking league economics with you all. It's probably my favorite topic that we cover on this channel, in addition to obviously the games themselves being very entertaining. But this is not one of those times where I'm looking forward to having this conversation. Yes, as you probably read by the title and the thumbnail, we're going to get into league viewership. It's decline in the LCS right now and just a bunch of other economic stuff going on in esports. It will be followed up then by obviously fantasy and previewing the upcoming week's matches. Timestamps will be down below, but I know I'm probably going to be the one kicking off this conversation on a broader front. And I want to do its due justice and diligence because, oh man, are we off to a rough start that we can't ignore, unfortunately. So let's start with that LCS viewership conversation. Just get the bad out of the way early. Yes, last weekend was a holiday. It was Easter Sunday here in the United States. Christianity continues to be the largest religion here. So yes, understandably, a lot of people are going to be with their families, and I'm expecting that number to rebound in week 2. However, the average viewership that we saw was 53,000. Peaks of 77, but obviously it's a pretty massive drop. If you're comparing that average to the average of last split, which generally speaking from where you start to where it finishes is relatively within 10K of itself at most. Like, even though yes, you will see a bump towards the end, for the most part it stays within a relevant range. The fact that we are down 40% split over split just from lock-in to now is a problem. To put that number into context, because I think it's very important to do so rather than just sitting here and immediately going into the LCS tangents that I know many people will. Please avoid going down to the comments yet. Let's talk through this and then I promise we'll have the conversation. CBLOL has seen the lowest drop from winter to spring, currently sitting at 106,000 average viewers through 2 weeks at a 19% drop. The LCK is at 329,000 average viewers with a 24% drop, and the LEC seeing the largest out of all of them, a 50% drop to 160K. Pretty much expected, obviously, given that Los Ratones isn't involved. It's a little bit longer of a split. K-Corp didn't play the first week. Like, there's a whole bunch of factors that go into that. But for the LCS, the reason why that 40% and 53K number is so bad is because our base number that we're reducing from is already small, and it's just getting smaller. Now, to show you the historical trend here, yes, we have pretty much seen viewership drops split over split, with the exception of last year. Like, we saw an increase from summer to lock in this year, which was great. But that increase obviously isn't sustaining itself. So that's all the numbers for you. As for like where this conversation goes from here, there's been obviously years of talk about this. This isn't anything new. You could take it in the direction of, oh, that's the talent development system failing itself. We have a bunch of good rookies in DSG. I don't think that argument, at least as of right now, is relevant to the current situation. There's the 3-split argument, which is once you've kind of blown your load for split 1, people are going to naturally tune out a little bit until Worlds time. And it seems like that continues to be the case because we did have a fall off from winter to spring of last year as well. So I'm not denying that the 3-split portion of this definitely plays into it, for sure. However, one of the complaints that also goes in with that is that there is so much change. So honestly, this is a damned if you do, damned if you don't thing. There are going to be people that say, go back to 2 splits. I think you just need some sort of stability for the most part. And this is the first year of us kind of getting that, but it still is a worrying sign. I mean, we'll have to see how last year's spring versus this year's spring ends up. I think it's going to be a little bit more of a telling number, but these drop-offs are still not great. We know general interest in League of Legends is still doing perfectly fine across the globe, especially at international events. So I don't have a good answer for you here. Being completely honest, I've got nothing. I'm obviously trying to grow the local audience here and doing what I can within my parameters. We're co-streaming events. I'll be co-streaming this weekend. I can't even sit here and tell you that I'm seeing this reflected in my numbers because my numbers are growing versus the LCS dropping as obviously, more international audiences kind of open up the thing. So like, it's not like last year at this point where like that was a pivot that I made. I made the pivot and now here we are. The only tangentially positive thing I would note is that there is a model that I think might work in the future if we could somehow get to it, but it almost feels impossible, which is, if you haven't seen the Valorant announcement, they've basically nuked franchising. Yes, there are still partner teams. Nobody has equity. Only the partner team gets their specific capsules in game, merchandise, and beyond, obviously. But Joe Schmo can go into open qualifiers, which immediately goes into domestic play. So like, even though the format's not changing all that much for Valorant, because even though they change it to like cups and then internationals and beyond, it still very much is going to follow the same cadence and feel. It's just opened up to tier 2. Like, there's no barrier that exists anymore. There's no exclusivity that happens. Yes, the teams that are partnered get further, like not get further. They start further within the open qualifier section of each domestic league or tournament. But it's fair game for everybody, which is awesome, and it's hype. And the biggest touch point with that is also that they're increasing the amount of road trips and road shows that they're doing in accordance with this, since it's a tournament and you could just take it out everywhere. Can this happen for League of Legends? No, we're equity, like paid equity. Riot would have to buy back all of the slots across all regions to make this type of thing happen. That would cost easily hundreds of millions of dollars, of which I highly doubt they would ever do. But maybe the one positive thing that you take away from this Valorant model that's being proposed, well, not proposed, it's happening next year in 2027. Maybe the thing that you take away from that is you just got to get out in front of more people. For North America, I mean, the reality is we're still not going on the road all that much. Like, this is going to be the first time that we are going to have 2 road trips. And we still don't know where finals is at for the split as of week 2. We just know it's in the state of Arizona. That's the only thing that we know. And we have no information on summer. So like, you're not activating with people. You're entirely relying on the online messaging and maybe an annual event in New York, maybe more road trips going to DreamHack. Like, beyond like the things that I've been constantly pushing here. That's the only thing in my mind that like has that last ditch attempt to try and like salvage this number a little bit. But again, even the positive at the beginning of the year, we are still left in limbo 4 months into 2026. Like, the domestic calendar will be done in 5 months and we have no information on either of our 2 events. But again, even that small nit, but like, you're not losing 30,000 people watching just because you didn't announce finals information. That doesn't make sense. Like, logistically, it just honestly is, there's less interest in the league, in the teams, and beyond in North America. We fired every clip we possibly can on this one. I don't have a good answer other than I'm just gonna keep doing me and see where it goes from there. I feel best to cater to the local market here in New York than try and problem solve the region as a whole, other than just pushing for road trips, because I don't know. Sorry, I know that's dark. I know it's not like the best thing to say, but like, you got to raise this alarm bell. If a TV network saw that ratings were that far below their expectations or that far below what they were previously, it would immediately call into question the show. Like, immediately. So you can't just ignore this. And there's going to be some people that are like, oh, you know, why are we being Debbie Downer on viewership? You have to be. You cannot ignore this stuff at all. It has to be addressed, and you have to figure out a way. Or what's going to happen is you're going to see the downsizing of cost even further. Like, this is just going to go full online. You cannot afford, with 53,000 people average watching, a $50,000 a day cost. You can't. So there's going to be ripple effects if this number stays as it is. And from there, I don't know what your plan is. If you got any new suggestions, I'm all ears in the comments. I really am. But let's get off this topic, please. Let's go over to LCS Fantasy. For the Shy Knockers, we are now 580 strong. And again, the top team will be getting a skin of their choice. Let's just say I did not have the best week 1. And that primarily comes from picking Ignore in the bot lane. Really? If you had anybody from Dignitas this week, bless your soul. I know you were trying to save money and get that pick, but I can promise you it didn't work out very well for any of us. So going into this upcoming week, it is going to be C9 versus Sentinels, which is going to be tough if you want to hold on to both or pretty much all of these. I mean, maybe it's just the week that you take a hit, but for TL, I'm definitely keeping Yawn. That pick, like Thanatos and Yawn, I'm not trading out. All split. Lion, I'm also comfortable with. 12 points in a loss is not terrible, all things considered. And then 6 points for Ignar. Can I trade out Ignar is just going to be my big thing here. I've got no budget, 0.01 remaining, and Ignar is the last support with a $4 difference between him and quite literally anybody else. And they're going against Lion. So I think I'm just screwed. I mean, is there anywhere that I can save $4? I mean, you could technically trade Dark Wings for somebody. I mean, Quad's 3. I don't think that's worth. Call Me. Maybe you take a chance on Call Me. I mean, he did have 15 points last week compared to Dark Wings 17. And also that is going to be a better matchup. If you believe in Zinni, you can also get him cheap, but I think his price is going to drop next week after the TL match, and then that will be the time to pick him up. So you know what? I'm going to take a chance. I'm going to say call me. I'm going to believe in you and DSG, because why not? We'll pick the Aurora. And jungle side, I need to save a little bit of money. And I think I just pretty much swapped this mid jungle entirely for just DSG. Cryo, let's give you the Pantheon, brother. That frees up 4.8 points, which means I can upgrade and support, and I'm just going to grab Core JJ. 20 points. I mean, he actually was one of the higher. Seos was higher, but Core JJ was not bad. That works for me. Give me the Rel. I feel pretty confident with this roster overall then. Don't forget to hit the confirm button. And Thanatos, Cryo, Call Me, Yawn, Core JJ, and Lion as a team. That feels a lot better than where it was going to be. Thank God I found a way to make that work. All right, let's kick it over to the matchup previews. If you haven't seen this week's episode of The Harbor, go check it out. It has the Team Liquid versus Shopify full preview. There's 2 additional pieces of information that have come out since posting that video. First, Spawn confirmed over on Reddit that he is still not going to be in the country. It will be Spooks that is leading this team for the week. And second, most importantly to me, was an interview that Spawn did right after the series last week. And that, yes, I know people were a little bit more iffy on them, given that it should have been a 2-0 for TL over FlyQuest had Game 2 not been completely unplayable early on. But he said that they want to make games entertaining. And I am a man that just appreciates that, especially after I just went on a rant about Jace Top being boring as hell, in my opinion. So yes, give me the entertaining matchup. Unfortunately, I do think this is going to be a 2-0 for TL over Shopify. I know everybody's high on Shopify right now. I also think that was a lot on Dig, but I just think they're going to run into a brick wall this week. I think it's going to be a little bit more of a return to normal. Things tone back down a bit. Shopify was weirdly baiting some sort of rivalry with TL, but didn't say shit. And if there's one thing that Twitter has just annoyingly pissed me off on, it's vague posting. If you ain't going to say it, don't say it at all. Period. It's one thing if you're baiting an announcement. Fine, that's good marketing, that's good practice. But baiting like rage bait or drama, like, just say it. I don't give a shit. 2-0 TL. Dig versus Lion. I don't think I have to say much here. 2-0 to Lion. Now we get into the interesting matchup. Sunday, I think, is just going to be a fun day all around. You have DSG versus FlyQuest, 2 teams that are going to be very close to each other in the standings, trying to go for that upper bracket spot, which again for spring playoffs will be 1 through 4 start in the upper bracket, 5 and 6 start lower. These are 2 of the 3 teams, including Sentinels, that I think stand a legitimate chance at trying to get that 4th spot. DSG coming off of a win, FlyQuest coming off of a loss. Notably, Fly's loss though to TL, DSG's win over Sentinels, who again, closer team within the standings. DSG really having some really early important matchups. Dear God. I feel like most people are probably going to favor DSG in this matchup purely because of the win. Like, that's just naturally how communities go. You tend to favor the winners and the losers. Like, you really kind of over-exacerbate some of the problems, especially early on. I'm specifically excited to see how the bot lane matchup goes. Again, Masu versus Sajed is FlyQuest versus former FlyQuest challenger ADC. It's just one that should be fun. And in the jungle, you have the Inspired versus Blabber mini matchup and Kryra versus Griffin. So by stylistic standards, if you take like the brother-sister relationship and how that went this split, technically that would actually favor FlyQuest. But I'm still going to put my faith in DSG on this one for whatever reason. I think Castle specifically in the top lane, if he plays like he did last week, can really take advantage of Gakos. And this should actually, I mean, maybe it's a harder matchup for FlyQuest than it was in prior week. Nah, I wouldn't go that far because I think Call Me versus Quad in the mid lane actually will be fairly Quad favored. But I just think that difference in the top lane should be pretty insane. Castle is performing at a astronomically good level. It's obviously a question with him on whether he can finish it later on. Similar questions to what we see with other squads in the league. But at least now in the regular season, especially since we're going to be in the side stage in the studio there, yeah, I think this actually favors Castle pretty good, and he should be able to carry this series for them as well as Kryber just support them. DSG starting 2-0 against their close matchups here would actually be really, really cool to see as well. Finally, closing out the week, Sentinels versus C9. I know a lot of people are going to be picking C9, especially after last week. I still think Sentinels are going to be pretty good. Their mid-jungle duo, really freaking good. Sentinels can get messy. We've known this. And Impact just, oh God, terrible series. Actually, oh wow. You know, now that I think about that a little bit more, that top lane difference in this series is going to be bad if Impact plays like he did last week, which I'm hoping he doesn't. I'm hoping he bounces back at least a little bit, because otherwise, like if you take top lane out of this, I can easily see a world where Darkwings and Hambach are able to keep up with Blabber and APA. Like, yeah, 100%. You can sell me on that. In the bot lane, Rahel and Huhi versus Sven and Vulcan. I think Sven and Vulcan probably gets the better of them in lane, for sure. But we've seen Rahel's team fighting. I think he's got that X factor that Sven doesn't have, even if Rahel can also chuck it in the same way that Sven does. But I just can't ignore that top gap, man. Like, that's... Thanatos is the best top laner in the league. Thanatos was the reason why C9 was able to beat Lion last week, and Impact was the reason why they lost. Which, if you go by LCS standards, that also means that this week then it will be the opposite, where Thanatos doesn't look as good and Impact bounce back, and then Sentinels ends up winning. But I'm going to stick with my gut and say C9 wins this one 2-0. That difference is just going to be a little bit too big for them to overcome, and I just think the top three in this region will hopefully cement themselves as top three. I just don't think this is the particular matchup for Sentinels that they favor here. I would weirdly like Sentinels versus maybe Team Liquid, maybe Lion as well. Just not this particular one. Give me C9. You know what? I'm going to... No, I'm going to stick with 2-0. The only 2-1 series I'm going to say for the entire weekend is going to be DSG versus Fly. But that's it for the pit this week, folks. I will be in the comments on this one. Obviously, I know how it's probably going to be. There might not be as much talk about the upcoming matchups. But hey, if this video gets a lot of views, then maybe it inspires people to watch in some way, shape, or form. All press is good press. Right, Riot? I mean, hopefully they see it that way. I don't know. I'm sorry. We have to bring up everything and talk about it. So here we go to the comments. See you there.